The crystal champagne flute trembles in my hand as I watch my sister Emma work the room, her engagement ring catching the light with every graceful gesture. She floats between guests at her lavish party like some ethereal being, leaving trails of laughter and admiration in her wake. I down my drink, hoping the bubbles might dissolve the bitterness rising in my throat. Luna, darling, why are you hiding in the corner? My mother's voice carries that familiar note of disappointment. Come join the celebration properly. I force my lips into what I hope passes for a smile. Just taking in the moment, Mother. She adjusts my hair with quick, critical movements. Well, do try to look more enthusiastic. This is your sister's special day. Isn't it always? I make my way through the crowd, nodding at familiar faces, family friends, business associates, people who've watched us grow up in this suffocating suburban bubble. The ballroom of the country club gleams with expensive decorations, every detail perfectly curated, just like Emma's life. There's my big sister! Emma's voice rings out, and suddenly I'm being pulled into her orbit. Her fiancé Dylan stands beside her, handsome and polished in his tailored suit. I was just telling everyone about your little graphic design projects. Isn't it adorable how she's still trying to make it as an artist? The group around us titters politely. My cheeks burn. Actually, I just landed the rebranding contract for Mitchell and Associates, I say, keeping my voice steady. It's a seven-figure deal. Oh, how sweet, Emma says, patting my arm. But enough about work. You simply must hear about the wedding plans. We're thinking of having it in Tuscany. Daddy's already looking at venues. Of course he is. The same father who told me pursuing art was a waste of time is probably throwing money at wedding planners as we speak. Excuse me, I manage, pulling away from her grip. I need some air. I escape to the terrace, gripping the stone railing until my knuckles turn white. Behind me, the party continues its elegant swirl, but I'm stuck on Emma's words, on the way she dismissed my greatest professional achievement like it was a child's finger painting. You okay? It's Sophie, my best friend and tonight's photographer, coming to check on me. I saw what happened in there. I'm fine, I lie, then immediately change my mind. Actually, no, I'm not fine. I'm tired of being the family disappointment when I'm the only one who's built something real on my own. Sophie leans against the railing beside me. You know what your sister's really good at? Making everything about her, even other people's successes. She's been doing it our whole lives, I say, something dark and determined unfurling in my chest. And everyone just lets her. So don't let her anymore. I turn to look at Sophie, really look at her. You know what? You're right. Through the windows, I can see Emma holding court, our parents hovering proudly nearby. She's wearing the designer dress they bought her, standing in the party they paid for, planning the wedding they'll fund. But I see something else too. The cracks in her perfect facade, the insecurities she covers with cruelty. I think it's time my sister learned what it feels like to be the family disappointment, I say quietly. Sophie's eyes widen slightly. Luna, don't worry, I assure her, though the plan forming in my mind is anything but reassuring. I'm not going to do anything dramatic. I'm just going to show everyone who Emma really is, starting with her precious fiancé. Inside, Emma's laugh rings out above the crowd. She's always been the star of every show while I watched from the wings. But not anymore. I've spent years developing my creative skills. Now it's time to put them to use, crafting something besides corporate logos. I raise my empty glass in a mock toast. To the happy couple, I whisper, may all their secrets come to light. The morning after Emma's engagement party, I scroll through my phone at my favorite coffee shop, watching the likes pile up on her perfectly staged photos. Each one is a masterclass in calculated happiness. Emma and Dylan sharing a champagne toast, Emma showing off her ring, Emma surrounded by adoring friends and family. My coffee grows cold as I dive deeper into her social media presence, past the engagement photos into earlier posts. That's when I noticed something odd. Several comments from potential clients on my business page have mysteriously vanished. Comments that had tagged Emma asking about my design work after seeing her posts about her talented sister. I thought I might find you here, Sophie says, sliding into the seat across from me. She sets her camera bag down with a thud. How are you holding up? I turn my phone around to show her. Did you know Emma's been deleting comments about my work from her social media? Sophie leans forward, frowning. That's specific. Are you sure? I started archiving everything after that disaster with the Thompson account last year. I pull up screenshots from my backup folder. Remember when they suddenly pulled out of a major contract? Right after having dinner with Emma and Dylan. Luna, Sophie's voice carries a warning note. I know what you're thinking, but look at this. I show her more screenshots, a pattern of deleted comments, lost connections, missed opportunities, all threading back to Emma's subtle interference. The bell above the door chimes, and Natalie from my design studio walks in. She spots us and hesitates before approaching, clutching her tablet like a shield. I need to tell you something, she says, glancing between Sophie and me. It's about Emma. My stomach tightens. What about her? She came by the studio yesterday before the party. Said she was surprising you with lunch. Natalie's fingers drum nervously on her tablet. I found her at your computer later. When I asked what she was doing, she said she was leaving you a sweet sister note, but she was in your client files. The coffee shop suddenly feels too warm, too crowded. What files exactly? The Mitchell and Associates presentation, the one you're giving next week. Natalie swallows hard. I didn't think much of it until I overheard her on the phone in the parking lot. She was telling someone about a competing bid from Dylan's friend's agency. Sophie's sharp intake of breath matches the jolt in my chest. The Mitchell contract, my seven-figure deal, my chance to finally prove myself. Of course, Emma would target that. Show me the security footage, I say to Natalie, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. Already pulled it. She hands me her tablet. There's something else. I found this in the trash after she left. She places a crumpled paper on the table. It's a draft of my presentation, covered in Emma's elegant handwriting. Notes about weaknesses, potential criticisms, points of attack. A systematic dismantling of my work. I always knew she was competitive, Sophie says quietly. But this is different. This is calculated. It's desperate, I correct her, studying Emma's notes. Look at how detailed this is. She's terrified I might actually succeed. My phone buzzes. A text from Emma. Lunch today? Need your opinion on wedding colors. Don't be a stranger just because I'm engaged. The emoji feels like a slap. I think of all the times she's played the loving sister while quietly undermining me. How many opportunities have I lost because of her? How many relationships has she poisoned? What are you going to do? Natalie asks. I look at the security footage again, watching my sister move through my professional space with such casual entitlement. Then I think about her engagement party, about Dylan's obvious devotion, about our parents' endless pride. Nothing, I say, a plan forming in my mind. I'm going to have lunch with my dear sister. I'm going to help her pick wedding colors. And I'm going to let her think she's won. While you do what? Sophie's eyes narrow with concern. I save the security footage to my phone and carefully fold Emma's notes into my pocket. Evidence of her true nature, safely preserved. While I learn everything there is to know about Dylan's development company, about their upcoming projects, their investors, their vulnerabilities, I smile, feeling calmer than I have in years. Emma wants to play in my professional world. Let's see how she likes it when I start playing in hers. The Mitchell and Associates presentation folder sits heavy in my hands as I stand outside the conference room. Through the glass, I can see Dylan's friend Marcus Chen from Rival Agency giving his pitch. Emma's handiwork, no doubt. My sister sits beside our father, nodding along enthusiastically. I check my phone one last time. The email I sent last night to Dylan's investors about certain discrepancies in their latest development project should be hitting their inboxes right about now. Ready? Natalie appears at my side, tablet in hand. Almost. I smooth down my blazer, watching Emma lean in to whisper something to father. Did you get what I asked for? Natalie nods, pulling up documents on her tablet. Everything about Dylan's company's bid on the Riverside project, including the parts they'd rather keep quiet. The conference room door opens, and Marcus emerges, looking pleased with himself. Emma catches my eye through the glass and waves, all innocence and light. I wave back, remembering how she used to do the same thing in high school, right before spreading rumors about whatever girls she saw as competition. Luna. Father's voice carries that familiar note of judgment as I enter. I trust you're prepared? Always am. I set up my presentation, noting how Emma's smile tightens when she sees I'm using a completely different deck than the one she snooped through. Halfway through my pitch, phones start buzzing around the table. Emma's face goes pale as Dylan excuses himself to take a call. I continue speaking, watching her anxiety build with each passing minute. As you can see, our approach integrates seamlessly with your existing brand architecture while pushing boundaries in key growth areas. The door bursts open. Dylan's face is ashen. Emma, we need to talk, now. I'm supporting my sister's presentation, she says, but her voice wavers. Now, Emma. Father frowns at the interruption. Young man, this is highly inappropriate. So is using inside information about my company's projects to manipulate investors. Dylan snaps. His eyes lock onto Emma. Information that only you had access to. The room goes silent. Emma's mask slips for just a moment, real fear showing through. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? I interject softly, like you didn't know anything about accessing my client files, or deleting comments about my work, or sabotaging the Thompson contract. Emma's head whips toward me, shock replacing fear. How did you? Enough! Father stands, his authority filling the room. Luna, you're making accusations without proof. Actually, Natalie steps forward, tablet extended. We have quite a bit of proof. Security footage, deleted social media archives, and some very interesting notes in Emma's handwriting about how to undermine Luna's business. Emma's composure cracks completely. You don't understand. She was finally going to be successful, more successful than me. I couldn't let that happen. Why not? The question comes from Mother, who's been silent until now. Her voice carries an unfamiliar note, disappointment, but not directed at me for once. Because she's supposed to be the failure. Emma's words echo in the suddenly silent room. The artistic one, the weird one, the one who proves I'm better. That's how it's always been. Dylan takes a step back, seeing his fiancé clearly for the first time. Father's face has gone rigid with shock, but it's Mother's expression that catches me off guard. Something like recognition and shame. Meeting adjourned, announces the Mitchell and Associates CEO, looking uncomfortable. Luna, we'll be in touch about the contract. As everyone files out, Emma remains frozen in her chair, tears streaming down her face. You planned this, she whispers. You wanted to destroy me. No, Emma. I gather my materials calmly. I just stopped hiding your truth, the way you've been hiding mine all these years. I head for the door, pausing when she calls out, I'm your sister. Yes, I agree, not turning around. And you taught me everything I know about family loyalty. The victory tastes different than I imagined. Not sweet, but sharp and metallic like blood. As I walk away, I hear Mother trying to console Emma, Father making calls to contain the damage. Some things never change, but some things do. My phone buzzes with a message from Mitchell and Associates. Contract is yours. Impressive presentation and impressive handling of a difficult situation. I smile, thinking of the files Natalie and I still have, the ones about Dylan's company that could cause real damage. But that can wait. For now, this is enough. Watching Emma's perfect world crack under the weight of her own actions. After all, revenge, like graphic design, is all about attention to detail. 3 days after exposing Emma's sabotage, I find Sophie waiting outside my apartment, camera bag slung over her shoulder. Her expression stops me before I can reach for my keys. "We need to talk about what you're doing," she says. I gesture toward my door. "Come in. I just landed the Mitchell contract." "I know. Everyone knows." Sophie follows me inside but remains standing, including Ethan. My hands freeze on the coffee maker. "Ethan? He called me yesterday. He's back in town. Heard about what happened with Emma." Sophie sets her camera down with deliberate care. "He's worried about you. Says this isn't like you. He doesn't know me anymore." The words come out sharper than intended. "None of you knew what Emma was doing all these years." "Maybe not, but I know what you're doing now." Sophie pulls out her phone, showing me social media posts about Dylan's company losing investors. "This isn't justice, Luna. This is calculated destruction." My phone buzzes. A text from Natalie. "Emma just showed up at the studio. She's asking about the backup files." "I have to go," I tell Sophie, grabbing my keys. "Wait." Sophie blocks my path. "There's something else. I found these while shooting Emma's engagement photos." She hands me a stack of prints. They're candid shots. Emma alone, when she thought no one was watching. In each one, she's looking at her phone, her face twisted with what I first think is anger. But then I see it. Fear. Raw, desperate fear. "Keep looking," Sophie says quietly. The next photos show Emma outside a medical building. The sign reads, "Dr. Sarah Chen, psychiatrist." The timestamp shows weekly visits going back months. She's been in therapy? My voice sounds distant to my own ears. For severe anxiety and depression, Dylan told me when I asked about rescheduling their engagement shoot. Apparently, she's been struggling since college. Sophie takes the photos back. "Your sister isn't just some cartoon villain, Luna. She's broken too." My phone buzzes again. Natalie. "Emma's crying in your office. What do you want me to do?" The victory I felt in the conference room curdles in my stomach. I think about the rest of my plan. The carefully gathered evidence about Dylan's company's less than legal practices, the anonymous tips I'm ready to send to regulators, the way I've positioned myself to catch Emma when she inevitably tries to fix things through manipulation. "I have to go," I repeat, but my voice wavers. "Before you do," Sophie pulls out one last photo. It's from Emma's engagement party, me standing alone on the terrace, my face reflected in the glass. I'm wearing the same expression I just saw in Emma's photos. Fear masked as anger, pain masked as strength. "You're becoming what you hate," Sophie says softly, "and I can't help you do it anymore." She picks up her camera bag and heads for the door. "Choose carefully what you do next, because some damage can't be undone." After she leaves, I stare at my phone, at Natalie's messages asking for direction. Emma's in my office right now, probably looking for ammunition to fight back. The old Luna would see this as an opportunity to gather more evidence, to tighten the noose. Instead, I find myself thinking about a different photo, one buried in my desk drawer, two little girls at the beach, before competition and resentment took root. Emma's holding my hand, looking at me like I'm her hero. My phone buzzes one more time. It's not Natalie. "Emma, I know what you're doing, and you're right. I deserve it. But before you finish destroying everything, there's something you need to know about the day Mom and Dad chose sides. Please." I stare at the message until the screen goes dark, seeing my reflection in the black glass. Sophie's right. I barely recognize myself anymore. The question is, do I want to? My fingers hover over the keyboard. The next message I send will determine whether this becomes a story of revenge or redemption. The power I've craved is finally mine, but it feels heavier than I imagined. I start typing, then delete it. Start again. Delete. Finally, 3 words. I'm coming now. Sometimes the hardest part of revenge isn't executing the plan. It's deciding when to stop. The charity gala invitation sits on my desk like a loaded gun. Mother's annual fundraiser, the perfect stage for the next phase of my plan. I've spent the morning reviewing the files Natalie gathered about Dylan's company, each document more damning than the last. A knock at my office door makes me flinch. It's Ethan, looking exactly as he did 2 years ago when he walked away, claiming I'd lost myself in ambition. Your assistant let me in, he says, hovering in the doorway. We need to talk. I'm busy. I slide the files into my drawer, but not before he glimpses Emma's name. Sophie showed me the photos. He steps inside, closing the door. The ones of Emma at her psychiatrist's office. Playing White Knight again? The words come out bitter, defensive. She tried to destroy my career. And you're trying to destroy her life. Ethan moves closer, his presence forcing me to remember softer times. The Luna I knew would never. The Luna you knew let people walk all over her. I stand, needing distance, including you. A text lights up my phone. Dylan. We need to meet. It's about Emma. She's not well. Your sister's in the hospital, Ethan says quietly. Anxiety attack. Your mother called me because she couldn't reach you. The room tilts slightly. I grip my desk, remembering Sophie's photos, the fear in Emma's eyes. She'll be fine, I say, but my voice betrays me. She's always fine. Is she? Ethan picks up a framed photo from my desk, Emma and me as children. Or is that just what you needed to believe to justify all this? My phone buzzes again. Natalie. Found something big. Dylan's company, the Riverside Project. There's a connection to your father. You should go, I tell Ethan, already reaching for my keys. Where are you going? To finish what I started. He blocks my path. Luna, stop. Look at what this is doing to you, to everyone. Move. Not until you hear me out. We stand there, locked in a moment that feels like history repeating. But this time, when I speak, my voice is steel. You lost the right to save me when you walked away. Pain flashes across his face, but he steps aside. As I reach the door, he calls out, Your father knew. I freeze. Knew what? About Emma's sabotage. Sophie found emails. He helped her cover it up, thinking he was protecting her. Ethan's words hit like physical blows. But that's not all he covered up. The Riverside Project. Father's involvement. Suddenly, pieces click into place. Why Emma's been so desperate to maintain her status. Why father always backed her plays. My phone rings. Mother's number. Emma's asking for you, Ethan says. Whatever you're planning for the gala, whatever you think you know, there's more to the story. I stare at my phone, at the files in my drawer, at the gala invitation promising the perfect revenge stage. One move and I could expose everything. Emma's manipulation, Dylan's corrupt business, father's involvement, the nuclear option. But Sophie's photos haunt me. Emma's fear, her weekly therapy sessions, the weight of expectations that drove her to destroy anyone who threatened her perfect image, including her sister. Tell me, I say to Ethan, my voice barely steady. Tell me everything. He pulls out a USB drive. You might want to sit down for this. As he moves to close the door, I catch a glimpse of Natalie in the hallway, watching us with an expression I can't read. She holds up her phone, showing a text from Emma. I'm sorry for everything, but Luna needs to know the truth about that summer. That summer, when everything changed, when sides were chosen, I sink into my chair, suddenly exhausted. The revenge I've crafted so carefully sits before me like a house of cards, ready to collapse with one wrong move. Start talking, I tell Ethan, even as another text lights up my phone, this one from Father. Whatever Emma tells you, remember she's unwell. Some truths are better left buried. But I'm done with buried truths. It's time to unearth them all, whatever the cost, even if it means destroying more than just Emma's world. The annual charity gala sparkles with false promises and champagne bubbles. I stand at the edge of the ballroom, watching my carefully laid trap spring into motion. The USB drive in my clutch contains everything: Father's corrupt dealings with the Riverside Project, Emma's sabotage, Dylan's company's illegal practices. One keystroke during my presentation, and it all burns down. You look exactly like her. Mother appears beside me, glass in hand. Emma at that age, before everything changed. You mean before you chose sides? She flinches. We thought we were protecting you both. By destroying me? By keeping the truth buried. She glances toward Father, who's speaking with the board members. Some secrets should stay buried, Luna. The projector screen flickers to life as the presentation begins. My moment approaches. Emma enters through the side door, still pale from her hospital stay. Our eyes meet across the room, and for a second, I see that little girl from the beach photo. Then Dylan whispers something in her ear, and her face hardens. Ladies and gentlemen, Father begins his introduction. Before our main presentation, I have an announcement about the Riverside Project. Tell them, Father. My voice cuts through the murmur of conversation. Tell them everything. The room goes silent. Emma steps forward, but Dylan holds her back. Luna, Father warns, don't do this. I move to the podium, USB drive in hand. Why not? Afraid they'll learn how you and Emma sabotaged my career to protect your illegal dealings? Or how Dylan's company laundered money through fake contracts? Gasps ripple through the crowd. Mother's glass shatters on the floor. You don't understand, Emma's voice cracks. That summer, when everything changed, it wasn't about you. It was always about me. The words explode out of me. Every opportunity you stole, every connection you poisoned. I was pregnant. Emma's cry silences the room. That summer, I was 16 and pregnant, and you were the golden child, and I couldn't bear it anymore. The USB drive slips from my fingers. What? Father made it go away, Emma continues, tears streaming down her face. But the guilt never did, so I became perfect, had to be perfect. Because if I wasn't, they might remember that summer and look at me the way they did then. The truth hits like physical blows. Every memory reshapes itself. Emma's desperate need for approval, Father's overprotectiveness, Mother's constant supervision of her social life. The Riverside Project, Dylan steps forward, was Michael's way of ensuring Emma's future. And yes, we cut corners, but it was never about hurting you, Luna. You're lying. But even as I say it, pieces fall into place. The timing of Father's sudden interest in Emma's life, the therapy sessions, the fear in those photos. Show them, Emma challenges, her voice stronger now. Show them everything you found. But remember, you're not the only one who'll burn. My finger hovers over the laptop keyboard. One click and the presentation begins. Evidence of years of manipulation and corruption. Justice, finally. But at what cost? I look at Emma, really look at her. Behind the perfect makeup and designer dress, I see the scared 16-year-old girl she once was, the sister who used to hold my hand at the beach. Luna, Ethan's voice comes from the back of the room. Whatever you decide, this changes everything. The room holds its breath. Years of resentment and revenge plans crystallize into this moment. I could destroy them all. Emma's reputation, Father's business, Dylan's company. Instead, I close the laptop. The relief on their faces makes me sick. Not because I chose mercy, but because I finally understand. We're all trapped in this web of secrets and lies. There are no winners here. This doesn't make us even, I tell Emma as the crowd begins to disperse, the scandal already becoming whispers for another day. I know, she wipes her tears, smearing expensive mascara. But maybe it's a start. I walk away from the podium, from my family, from the revenge I've crafted so carefully. The USB drive stays behind, a small black rectangle containing enough truth to destroy us all. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the war, but in choosing not to fight it. But as I reach the door, Emma calls out one last time. There's more you need to know about that summer, about why I really did it. And I realize this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a different one. The hospital corridor stretches before me like a confessional. Emma sits alone in the waiting area, still wearing her gala dress. Mascara tracks dried on her cheeks. When she sees me, she doesn't move. You could have told me. My voice echoes off sterile walls. Would it have made a difference? She pulls her knees to her chest, looking younger than her 25 years. Would knowing about the pregnancy have changed anything? It changes everything. Does it? Her laugh is hollow. You still gathered evidence, still planned to destroy us all. I sink into the chair opposite her, maintaining distance. Why did you do it? Really? All these years of sabotage, of playing the perfect daughter. Because I saw how they looked at you that summer. Emma's fingers twist in her lap. While I was hiding morning sickness and doctor's appointments, you were winning art competitions, getting scholarships. They were so proud. Until they weren't, until I made sure they weren't. She meets my eyes. I convinced Father you were unstable, showed him your darker artwork, suggested your ambition was dangerous. Then when he started the Riverside Project, you used it to control him. She nods. Threatened to expose everything if he didn't help me maintain the image. Perfect Emma. Successful Emma. Not pregnant at 16 Emma. A nurse passes, clipboard in hand. Through the window, dawn paints the sky in shades of redemption. What happened to the baby? The question barely makes it past my lips. Emma's face crumples. Private adoption. But I know where. Who? She pulls out her phone, shows me a social media profile. A little girl, about 9, with familiar eyes. Her name is Grace. The name hits like a physical blow. Our grandmother's name. Does Dylan know? No one knows except father and mother. And now you. She wipes fresh tears. I thought if I could just be perfect enough, successful enough, maybe the guilt would go away, but it never did. So I made sure no one else could be perfect either. Footsteps approach. Ethan carrying 2 coffee cups. He hesitates, seeing us together. The USB drive, Emma says suddenly. What will you do with it? I think of the evidence waiting to be unleashed. Father's corruption, Dylan's company, Emma's manipulation, a nuclear option that would devastate everyone. I could ask you the same about my career, my relationships, my life. I can't undo what I did. Emma's voice breaks. But I can show you something else. About that summer. About why Father really turned against you. She pulls out another phone, older, kept hidden all these years, opens a video file. Father's voice fills the space between us. Emma's mistake is your fault, Luna. Your rebellion, your art, your defiance. You showed her it was okay to break the rules. Now fix it. Help us maintain the image, or I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. The timestamp shows 2 days after I won the national art competition. The day everything changed. My hands shake. You recorded him? Insurance, protection. I don't know anymore. Emma closes the phone. I've spent so long being afraid of everyone seeing the real me, I forgot who that was. So did I. The truth settles between us like a weight being lifted. We both became someone else that summer. Dawn breaks fully outside the window. Emma stands unsteady in her expensive heels. I'm checking myself into the psychiatric ward, getting real help this time. And Dylan? If he loves me, he'll understand. If not, she shrugs, a ghost of her old confidence. Maybe it's time to stop hiding. I reach into my bag, feel the USB drive's hard edges. This doesn't fix everything. I know. She takes a step toward her future, then pauses. But maybe we can stop breaking each other. I watch her walk away, carrying 9 years of secrets. Then I pull out my phone and delete the revenge files, one by one. Not for her, but for the person I want to be. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning or losing, but in choosing to end the game entirely. Ethan finally approaches, offering coffee. You okay? No, I answer honestly, but maybe that's the point. The morning light streams through the hospital windows, painting everything in shades of possibility. And somewhere out there, a little girl named Grace carries pieces of both her mother's stories, unknown and unfinished. 6 white roses rest in my hands as I stand outside Emma's treatment facility. Through the window, I see her in the garden, working with her therapist. She looks smaller without her designer clothes and perfect makeup, but somehow more real. Ready? Ethan asks from beside me. I'm not, but I push through the doors anyway. Emma spots me first. Her hands freeze on the plant she's tending, dirt under her manicured nails. The therapist excuses herself, leaving us alone among the growing things. Those are like the ones from the beach house, Emma says, nodding at the roses. Grandmother's garden. I set them on the bench between us. I thought maybe we could plant them together. She touches a petal with soil-stained fingers. Dylan visited yesterday. I told him everything about Grace, about what I did to you. How did he take it? He's processing, like everyone else. She meets my eyes. Father called, asked me to sign some papers about the Riverside project. And? I told him no, suggested he come clean instead. A small smile plays at her lips. He hung up. We work in silence, digging holes for the roses. It feels like excavating the past, unearthing all the buried truths between us. I found Grace's adoptive family online, I say finally. They seem good, happy. Emma's hands still in the dirt. I know, I check sometimes. She plays violin, like you used to. Before Father sold my violin, before art became dangerous, before we all started pretending. Sophie's documenting a story about teenage mothers, I tell her. She asked if you'd consider sharing yours, anonymously. Maybe. Emma plants the last rose. When I'm stronger. We step back to admire our work. 6 white roses, like the ones our grandmother tended before everything fell apart, before secrets and revenge poisoned the soil. I got offered a job in Seattle, I say, a creative director position. You should take it. Emma wipes her hands on her therapy-approved sweatpants. We both need space to grow into different people. What about you? I'm staying here another month. Then, she shrugs. Maybe I'll finally figure out who Emma is without the perfect facade. A nurse appears at the door, signaling the end of visiting hours. As I turn to leave, Emma calls out, Luna, that summer, I was so scared of losing their love that I made you lose it instead. I'm sorry. I know. I look at the roses we planted together. But maybe love isn't something you lose or win. Maybe it's something you grow. Outside, Ethan waits with car keys and patience. But I linger, watching through the window as Emma returns to her gardening. She looks peaceful, focused on nurturing something besides appearances. My phone buzzes, a text from Mother. Your father's stepping down from the company. We're selling the beach house. Perhaps it's time we all started over. Another message follows. Found this in the attic. The photo shows 2 little girls on a beach, building sandcastles. Before competition and resentment took root, before we learned to bury our truths under perfect facades. I save the photo but don't respond. Some conversations need more than text messages and apologies. Some healing requires time and distance and dirty hands planting new beginnings. You okay? Ethan asks as I finally join him. Not yet. I look back at the garden, at my sister among the roses. But I'm growing. We drive away from the facility, leaving behind 6 white roses reaching toward the sun. They might bloom or they might wither, like revenge, like forgiveness, like the complicated love between sisters. I don't know if Emma and I will ever be close again. I don't know if our parents will learn to love imperfect things. I don't know if somewhere out there, a 9-year-old violinist will ever learn about the aunt who used to play the same instrument. But I know this. Sometimes the best revenge is choosing not to let the past define your future. Sometimes victory means planting roses in soil that once grew thorns. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop fighting altogether and simply let yourself grow.